An international scheme is being set up to arrest Bolsonaro, the current Brazilian president, and the act will be justified by crimes he did not commit. Another fraud, in addition to the results of the last elections, where Lula da Silva was set up as the winner by the Supreme Court Minister Alexander de Moraes. Lula and Alexander forgot that getting involved in organized crime is very uncertain, where what looks like victory can mean death, as everyone is disposable. Here we have Lula, a puppet of the CPX narco faction and an agent of organized crime. Everybody is automatically in debt once they get involved, so there is no difference. All are disposable without a doubt. The president of Peru is a shining example. Pedro Castillo was always leftist, aligned with communist agents in Latin America. Nevertheless, he was now used as a sacrifice to manipulate public opinion. A simulation, exactly like Lula's election victory in Brazil. To create a narrative, one that would prepare the world to arrest Bolsonaro soon, they sacrificed the president of Peru. This was to pretend that dictators were trying to take over Latin American countries. They really are. But organized crime is trying to make it look like they are conservative or right-wing. However, outside of the simulation, they are radical extremists, far-left mafia members, and terrorists. All are linked to Lula da Silva and Alexander de Moraes, puppets used by organized crime to destabilize Brazil in 2023. Thus, the mafia has been attempting to rewrite history, faking out coup attempts through one of their partners, sacrificing the president of Peru figure in the game, and altering articles about him online to change the words leftist to conservative. This would be a very smart move if the organized crime weren't using such outdated techniques. These are very old communist techniques. Through newspaper fraud and book publishing, they try to rewrite history by sacrificing their disposable agents at any time, typical of communist countries and dictatorships. It's all a poorly organized simulation with the help of many journalists aligned with organized crime. Rather than making fake news, let's call it what it is. Journalists are committing fraud, using manipulation and deception to enslave the population. In order to obey organized crime orders, many journalists are sacrificing their careers. In the near future, they will be discarded too. This is the plan of these agents of organized crime now, with this fraudulent story. Their simulation makes it appear that conservatives are attacking Latin American countries, and their goal is to destroy Bolsonaro's reputation, who is a conservative, manipulating the world to give them a free pass to arrest Bolsonaro and his family. As a result, the whole world is being scanned right now without anyone realizing it. Well, many journalists realize it but chose to hide it from their audience. A very fraudulent action, a worldwide shame. You must be wondering why organized crime is desperate to destroy Bolsonaro's reputation. It's because he governed Brazil for 4 years during a pandemic, a war, and a hydric crisis, and delivered the country in exceptional conditions. Brazil, in 2022, was the only economy on the planet that could make it happen, recovering so fast post-pandemic. Bolsonaro was also the only politician in Brazil who dared to stop billions from being looted from state companies. We are talking about amounts totalizing trillions of US dollars through the past years. A crime against humanity, while Brazil still has many faveless and miserable people living in poor conditions. You need to pay attention, since the simulation is setting up the stage for organized crime, like Lula da Silva and his beloved dog, Alexander de Moraes. This is how organized crime can take over and steal Brazil's resources, including money and territory, which are currently being divided to be dissolved. It is exactly what Lula da Silva has done in the past, the same old strategy. That's why it's so predictable. The sovereignty of Brazil is under threat, the country is being kidnapped, the people are being massacred, and the human rights of the population are already violated. And if the countries that are silent in the face of this atrocity think they are entitled to benefit from the proceeds of crime, they are very naive and mistaken. Countries that should help protect Brazil are being used as puppets as well. They have received a lot of investment in recent years, and today they can only comment on topics that investors allow, as well as journalists, TV channels, magazines, and the like. They are all gagged in 2022. Results of their dishonest partnerships. World, let's wake up. Visualize reality. The world's communication channels are all taken. Brazilians and the world are living in a fraudulent simulation. Organized crime will stealthily arrest Jair Bolsonaro, the president of the most naturally prosperous country in the world right now. Have you ever asked yourself why? Brazil is a country that produces food to feed the whole world. It also dared, after the pandemic, to make public that Brazil always had the resources to support its population with dignity. Exactly the opposite of what the far-left politicians always claimed. Additionally, the president revealed that state-owned companies are not broken and do not cause losses. These Brazilian state-owned companies were actually looted for more than 30 years by Lula's partners in crime. Brazil's economy was not stagnant, and it recovered very quickly, the fastest in the world. This prevented the narrative and the simulation of a global crisis from being put into practice. This included preventing a global food crisis from being simulated to manipulate the world's population. Can you see why this huge intercontinental organized crime movement is working hard to destroy Bolsonaro? The Brazilian leader is the missing piece in this game. Brazil, which refuses to bow, is a thorn in the side of organized crime. Clearly, they are using Lula da Silva as a puppet to dissolve Brazil once again in 2023 and keep stealing its resources. Brazil, led by Bolsonaro, recently discovered that in the last 30 years it has been a slave state. Will Brazilians bow down and surrender like animals going to the slaughter? Of course not. Anyone who opposes this fraudulent simulation must be prepared to be painted as anti-democratic and criminal, even though they are fighting crime and corruption. This is such an irony. But this is a battle. Brazilians shouldn't be afraid to oppose this mafia, and they also shouldn't ask for permission to fight organized crime. Criminals are not alone in this war. The Brazilians are not alone either. Brazil has been hijacked. May the Brazilians rise now and carry out the rescue mission. Mission given, mission accomplished. Isn't it right, criminals? The Brazilians have got you. If you try to arrest Bolsonaro, you will see how powerful Brazil is. Brazilians aren't to be fooled around with, so don't even try.